He deserved it. He'll bounce back. I'm just proud of the guys for stepping up. Moses came off the bench, had a big game for us. Guy made a big three. Gary was fantastic. So we had guys step up, and that's what it takes.
Dub Nation, it's Draymond Green. My head coach Steve Kerr joins Willard and Dibs today, right here on 95.7 The Game.
Your head coach is mad at you. He is. You can hear it right there. And I'm sure Steve will do a lot of the same in 27 minutes when he joins us, which is to say, I'm going to deflect the attention from Draymond to the guys who did an unbelievable job filling in for him. And he's absolutely right to do that. By the same token, there are so many questions to ask at a time like that, and here's one of them. And this is for us more so than for Steve. And I wonder what y'all think about this. So I see this whole thing unfold, and one of the first things that pops into my mind was what Farhan Zaidi said about Brandon Crawford recently when they let him go. When they let him go and he joined the St. Louis Cardinals, Farhan said the weight of Brandon Crawford's history in this organization was too much for us to keep him around. We've got maybe a young player that we'd like to groom there. We do not want to put Brandon Crawford over his shoulder. His standing in this organization, if you will, is too great. Okay, put that aside for a second. The reason I thought of it is I watched the Warriors, and it's not just Draymond and his mentals. It's Klay Thompson and his mentals. Here's Steph Curry now tearing up in the middle of a random game on a Wednesday in Orlando. What's happening, and maybe it ends up being a conversation for later this summer, but what's happening is, I believe, you're looking at the Warriors buckle under the weight of their own history. These players are so accomplished. Their names are so big. And they've been so great. And you can see how often they live in the past. Klay Thompson holding up the four fingers at the Suns bench. I kind of think that that's what's happening with Draymond Green. Why would you not give a rip about the 10 seed? Well, because you've been a champion 4 times over. You're not hanging around out here for the 10 seed. Well, you know what? Maybe Jonathan Kuminga is. Maybe he'd like to get into the playoffs and get some experience. But the bottom line is they're all buckling under the weight of their own accomplishments. These players are being treated like they're still great. They're being paid like they're still great. The organization is being structured as if they are still great. And while they're still very good, they're not the players they used to be. And therefore, they're behaving as if that's still who we are. And it's not who they are. And it leads to poor decisions, and it leads to frustration. And that's what we've seen with all three of them.
Well, I think it's mainly, for me, Draymond Green. And Steph Curry's frustration is born out of the reality that this has happened again. And when Draymond goes out, life for Steph is more difficult. Nobody is better for Steph Curry on the court than Draymond Green. Draymond knows how to get him the ball. Draymond knows how to set the screen. Draymond makes life easier for Steph Curry. You're playing a back-to-back, and Steph Curry's coming off a game where he played more minutes than he did on the game before on Sunday, so he has to dig deep in a back-to-back. Warriors now 10-5 in the second half of back-to-backs, by the way.
Unbelievable.
Which belies the reality of just how old they are as a group, yet they've been great in back-to-backs. So 4 minutes in, not even 3 minutes and 36 seconds, Steph Curry now has to again shoulder the load of a Draymond-less game and face the questions in the postgame yet again about Draymond Green and the technical foul. So I totally can forgive Steph for allowing his emotions to get the better of him in the moment.
Sure.
It's Draymond Green who is frustrated because he's not the same player that he used to be, and his body's starting to betray him, and he's getting older. And so these instances, these incidents have happened this year more than they've ever happened before. Whether it's a flail punch on Nurkic, a choke of Gobert, or an uno dos adios last night where you just completely lost your cool. And now you're gonna use name calling at an official because you didn't like the way the sequence went. For me, it's at the end of the rope, and I wonder if the organization sees it the same in the offseason, if they get to the point where they realize they don't want to put up with this for 3 more years.
Yeah, well, and what they can do about it, I mean, that I agree with you is a discussion for a different day, but we're headed there.
Yeah.
We're headed there. I mean, that's the bottom line for me is this, and I don't know how you get these guys to stop thinking the way they used to, but in an odd way, they kind of have to. You got to stop thinking like you're still Hall of Fame talents because you're the 10 seed.
Right.
You're all there. I know you've missed some games here and there.
Not many, though.
This is a relatively healthy season. And you have your Hall of Fame swagger and the 10 seed.
Right.
So that's what you get when you want to still act like you all are as good as you used to be, or that the refs should treat you like they used to treat you, or whatever. That's really how I see this. It is a trickle down. There's a few steps to get to where I'm getting, but if you think about the fact that Draymond Green is so frustrated 2 minutes into the game because he doesn't really give a rip about the 10 seed, the reason he doesn't give the rip about the 10 seed is because of his success. It's because of where he's been.
Yeah, if they had never been in the playoffs ever, if they were the Charlotte Hornets.
Then he'd be like the Rockets,
right?
Who are trolling the Warriors on social media. They're so excited to be the 11 seed right now.
Yes. What did they say on social media? We're coming for you, or
Tari Eason on Instagram last night.
Ooh.
Warriors, come out to play! Warriors, come out to play! Yeah, it's like that.
It's like that.
I love it.
We're the 11 seed.
Right.
It's like that. And Draymond's like, yawn, dog. The play-in tournament? I've been to the finals 6 times.
Yeah.
Well, you're falling under the weight of your own success.
Of your own ego,
yes,
and of your own hubris. I mean, yes, the success, but do you think LeBron James falls under the weight of his own success? No. Michael Jordan never fell under the weight of his own success. He kept pushing and trying for it at the age of 40. And if Michael was playing today at 40, he would be fighting like tooth and nail for the 10 seed. He wouldn't be punking out after 3.5 minutes and shouting at a ref and name calling a ref and getting thrown out of game 72 in a, not a must win, but considering the fact that Houston's not ever going to lose again, these games become pretty important.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. Here, by the way, Draymond addressed the Tari Eason screaming on his own podcast.
When I saw it, I wasn't surprised at all. I am a little surprised that he hasn't played in the game since January 1st. And so it's kind of tough to come out and play, and you're not going to play. It puts a lot of strain on your guys. Like, you can't get out there and help them.
Well, kind of interesting comments when you ducked out of a game 2 minutes in and couldn't help your own teammates last night either.
And the league actually kind of asked you to not play for the better part of a month and a half because you couldn't contain yourself. So, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So maybe we don't cast him at Tari Eason.
I do have the comments that I made a week ago while you were gone about Draymond. We'll play those in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Vegas. I was.
So you are not responsible for what took place a week ago?
And I can't wait to hear them because I feel like if I was here for it, I would have questioned it.
My B.
My bad. I know you knew what you're supposed to say is I said what I said.
I said what I said.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to say what I'm going to say this time.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Ryan in Miami thinks this is LeBron's fault. Okay, Ryan, what's going on? What are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I love the show, guys.
Thanks, man.
Hey, I don't think it's LeBron's fault. What I want to address, though, is, one, we all know the Warriors are incredibly harshly officiated. That's for one. I have my theory as to why. But for two, Ever since Draymond became friends with LeBron, he sees him berating the refs constantly. Even when he's not even playing, he berates the refs. LeBron does this. And over calls that aren't even legit. Draymond at least was berating the refs over, like, both those calls were like bogus last night. And so he sees his friend being entitled, and he's entitled as well.
Ryan, I'm having a hard time with you comparing the way LeBron argues with the way that Draymond argues. I really am. I don't think there's a comparison in the league for the way Draymond sort of behaves, whether it's toward officials, toward opponents. You know, there are times where I've credited him with this through his career. There are times where it's helped. There are many more times now that it hurts. But I don't think there's a comparison to Draymond Green in this entire league in terms of the demeanor, if you will.
I agree, but LeBron literally berates the ref almost virtually every single play, even when he gets the call.
But what you're saying, you're using the word berates, and that I take issue with it. No, he doesn't. Did you read Draymond's lips? LeBron doesn't do that.
No.
LeBron doesn't say that. He doesn't do it for a minute and a half. He doesn't, Ryan. He doesn't do that. Do you think he does that?
No, I don't, but it's constantly, he literally always gets the calls, too. I don't know what he's bitching at.
Well,
I don't get it.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks. I like that feels like
it's a stretch.
That feels like excuse making.
Draymond Green's
not deserved.
text by year going backward 10, 17, 14, 14, 14, 16, and 15. So when did they become besties? And is that when Draymond amped and ramped up his tech game? But he's always been like this.
And LeBron has never acted like that. Like
right.
There's arguing about a call. Hell, Luka's palms it might get stuck that way.
Right.
He might not be able to shoot in a few years.
Trae Young, same thing. A lot of NBA players complain, cry, and whine.
That's one thing. But this is a completely different scale.
Right. And that was not two bogus calls. I mean, the whistle was against him early, and we can have the debate over whether or not the Warriors get a fair whistle or not. I don't think today is about that. Today is about Draymond Green, again, failing to control his temper in a time when you needed him on the floor. Now, it turns out maybe they didn't need him on the floor, and that's why I think about the future, and maybe you can be a successful team without Draymond Green. I don't think you'll be a championship team without him, but honestly, I don't think you'll be a championship team with him.
No, of course not.
So if those two things are equally true, then what are we talking about here?
Well, but I mean, you make it sound like there's no matter where this goes, and again, I think this is a conversation for later in the summer, but no matter where this goes, you don't make the move unless it benefits you. It's not like you can't use your own frustration to just be like, get him out of here. Harrison Ford, get off my plane. No, you can't do that. What are you getting in return? And what on earth is someone going to do in return for 3 years and $75 million of Draymond Green right now?
Depends on what your team is comprised of.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a veteran team, Draymond come in and help you. He's still one of the best defenders in basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, he still is.
That's true here, too.
When Draymond is interested in playing basketball and available to play basketball, he's still a good player. He's played in 47 of 72 this year.
Yeah.
And not due to injury very often.
That's not enough, yeah. Dennis in the city is next up. Hi, Dennis. What you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
I think it's the first time I talk to you guys. I usually talk to Steiny and Guru because I'm driving in my truck. I'm retired, but I have things to do around the city. I'm born and raised in the city, and I listen to it at that time. But anyway.
All right, well, we're glad we got you today.
I'm 69 years old. I used to be a ball boy for the Warriors in the 60s. And anyway, I've been watching Warrior basketball and been a part of it. My cousin still works for them. I love Warrior basketball, and Steve Kerr's got to start taking some responsibility for this stuff. You guys are going to have him on. Ask him why he's supporting this guy.
Is he?
I love Draymond.
Define support.
Support is when you see a guy, Kerr's, I agree with Kerr's gun control policy, his politics in that way, but that was a very violent punch that Draymond threw. I've been in a lot of street fights in my life growing up in this town. That was a very violent punch that he threw on that kid.
Right, Dennis, we're not going to, I don't think it's relevant to go there today. Like, I get that that's a part of all things Draymond, but like, my God, we how many times have we gone round and round about the way the Warriors handled that one? Think about how many things have happened since then. Do you feel like the Warriors have continued to wrongfully enable Draymond since then?
Right. I mean, so I know the punch is like beating a dead horse, right? And it's like, but the problem is, you know, the kid that got punched got ran out of town, and then we gave $100 million contract to this guy who can't control himself. You know, and somebody's got to man up and say, hey, it's my fault. You look at what's happened since the Warriors since then. Part of it, obviously, they're growing old, and I don't like the way Kerr handles the young guys. We've all talked about that. I mean, you know, you look at Moody. Why isn't Moody getting more time? GP2 out there, he can't hardly do anything, and he's getting minutes over Moses Moody. That's a joke, and that's Kerr's fault. The same, and Kerr's fault is when Kuminga said, my coach doesn't have any belief in me. And Kerr's got to take responsibility. They ran Wiseman out of town. They ran Poole out of town. What did they run?
They ran two of the worst players in the NBA out of town, Dennis.
Yeah,
thanks,
Dennis.
Again,
played his way out of town by not getting any better.
I'm just not into letting today turn into that. We're not doing the minutes of all the players. This fan base has ended up having the biggest backup quarterback complex in the history of sports. Anybody who's on the bench, you all think that's the key to victory. Should Moses have played more? Maybe. Steve's been on this show and said that.
Why is he burying Saric on the bench?
If Moses had played, then what? Then what? Instead of being, what are they, 37 and 34, 38, whatever.
Yeah, 38 and 34.
Great. Would they be 39 and 33?
Or they might be 33 and 39.
Yeah. Like, come on. Let's talk about stuff that's actually happening.
Now, if you want to talk about the enabling of Draymond through a 4-year, $100 million contract.
No question we can talk about that. But is that on Steve?
Probably not. And even the handling of the punch back now almost a year and a half ago, that was not a Steve Kerr decision to make. That was organizational.
I mean, he's got a voice. He's got a big voice, but so does Steph Curry.
Let me ask you this, Mark. If they would have suspended him for 5 games, including ring night, would that have changed his behavior? Would Draymond Green be any different today than he is if you would have handled that differently?
It appears not. It appears that the NBA suspended him indefinitely, and here we are a handful of weeks later,
right?
Calling officials bleepity-ass bleepities.
Right. December 14th. Actually, it was December 12th when he swivel punched on Nurkic, and I just lost my balance, and that could happen. And here we are, 3 months and 2 weeks later, and we're dealing with the same old topic. I said what I said, and it didn't take that long, Mark. From then to now, you're talking about basically about 100 days, and now we're back talking about the same old thing again. The 34-year-old man can't control himself.
You want to hear what I said a week ago?
Yeah, I do, actually. I do.
So,
you and FP.
Warriors play Memphis, and it gets a little hot under the collar.
Yep.
And instead of getting into a fight, Draymond Green grabs the opponent by the chest, just shakes his head. And it said
Desmond Bane, right?
No. What was the guy's name? I never remember. It's one of the young guys.
Santi Aldama.
Yeah, Aldama.
Okay.
So he grabs him by the chest and he shakes his head, which said to me, he was like, you're not getting under my skin. We're not doing this. Let's go to the other end of the court. That's what they did. And I was impressed, Dibs. I'll play it, but before I play it, I take it all back. Here's what it was. I really, really, really am impressed because here's what I think. I think, and we've seen it now about 3 or 4 times, and last night was going to be Exhibit A, to where I didn't necessarily believe, there's actually like a legitimate disagreement going on the court. I saw what I believed was players on the other team trying to get Draymond to implode. And it would be stupid if they didn't try. We all thought during the suspension, this is exactly what's going to happen when you get back. They are going to try to get you to implode and get yourself kicked out and kicked off. And I am watching the growth of Draymond Green on the television in terms of how he handles that, to still be that dude and still not take any stuff, but also stop himself before it turns to blows or guys getting kicked in the you-know-whats. And therefore, if it's a technical, cool, it's a technical. Off we go. Next play, inbound the ball. Nope. You're not going to get me. You're not going to get me to implode. Stop shoving me. Let's go to the other end of the court. Bravo.
Wow. I remember the sequence, and it was Desmond Bain after the fact.
Afterward.
And then Coach Jenkins wound up on the floor.
On the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, Draymond did show some restraint, although his additional confrontation with the head coach led to the bench's soda clearing. And, it wasn't like he completely walked away from it. He didn't duck that smoke after the 6'11 youngster Santi Aldama kind of chucked him with an elbow. But, yeah, are you looking for a mulligan here? Breakfast ball?
No, I was wrong. I'm no longer impressed.
No?
I take it back. Never mind.
It's never as bad as you think, and it's never as good as you think, Mark.
There might be some truth to that. That doesn't mean it's not bad. It's bad. This was bad.
Yeah.
This was really bad. I mean,
made better by the fact that they won without him.
I don't even 100% know if Steph Curry was crying, but think about that, okay? You ever done that? You ever make one of your kids cry? You ever make your girl cry? If you're a girl, you ever make your guy cry, make your mom cry, make your dad cry? You ever do that? And then, take a moment, and you're like, holy hell, what? I'm a monster. The hell's the matter with me right now? This guy made Steph Curry well up on the court in the first quarter in Orlando and couldn't wait to slap five with him and do a podcast to explain that it's not that big of a deal. I think it's a huge deal. Steph Curry has been playing for a bajillion years. Have you ever seen him react like that to anything ever in your life? I've never seen that before.
I've seen tears of joy after winning his fourth NBA championship and being the finals MVP. Those were tears of joy. This was an emotional moment of I can't believe this has happened again for the, 57th time? Draymond has gone and imploded, and now in a big game, I'm going to have to go out there and not do it alone, but I'm going to have to shoulder the burden of playing without Draymond again on a back-to-back. It sucks.
Well, and it goes deeper than that. It's not just, hey, we're trying to win a basketball game. It's everything that it represented. And Steph stood there by his shoulder, tapping him as if to say, okay, time to stop, time to stop, time to stop. And he never would, knowing everything that it represented and everything that was on the line. And that, to me, suggests why Steph Curry is I'm exasperated. Completely, yes, it was an exasperation sensation. Yep. I could see it in your eyes.
Well,